sort of. There you go. Um, although this is an online course, we do everything asynchronous. So there were a number of skill sets that I didn't know I had, including how to use Zoom. I'm getting through it. This is one thing we're doing is learning how to record. So again, I'm the director of the HR Law online program, and I'm also the instructor of the first course, which is an introductory course on the American legal system as it pertains to HR law, as well as discussing selected topics on hiring and firing. I'm also one of the instructors in the fifth and final course in the program, which is entitled Selected Topics in Human Resources Law. I'm responsible for helping students develop and then evaluating a capstone project that they work on. I'll talk more about that when we get to the curriculum. Also present today to present is first Beth Ann Pischke, who is the HR Law Online Program Administrator. She'll be talking in a little bit about the application process. Alan Meisel, who is identified as the Director of the Masters of Studies in Law degree at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law, will also be speaking briefly about the MSL program. You may have seen reference to it in the flyer that went out with the Reed Green notice, that there's a way to combine this certificate with the Pitt Law Masters of Study in Law degree. So Professor Meisel will talk about that. And then lastly, and certainly not least, there are two students in the current cohort, Stephanie and Christy, who, if they haven't joined already, will be joining us shortly. And they can talk about, in some ways, this may be what you would find most valuable if you're thinking of applying for the program. They will be talking about their own personal experience on the way in which the courses are run, and also about the work required for the course and how they are able to balance the work for this program with their other daytime work responsibilities, as well as family responsibilities. So I'm going to go back to the, just going to get us an idea of who's all out there and what we're talking about in terms of numbers. Welcome all. Got a nice turnout here. Like I said, just a little bit of an overview about the program. We do have a website at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law, and I think I have a, here we go, just put that up real briefly here. Gives you a little bit of an introduction about our program, talks about who should enroll. There's links to topics such as courses and seminars, faculty frequently asked questions, as well as program overview and objectives, and our mission statement. Let me start out by talking about who should enroll. This program today, this virtual information session, was sent out via Reed Green to University of Pittsburgh employees, as well as to UPMC employees. So of the categories that are listed here, I'm assuming that what we're talking about are either professionals working at Pitt or UPMC, excited or interested in an exciting career change, or people who are performing human resources functions in their current jobs, but who want to enhance their understanding of HR laws and regulations. This program just got started in 2019, so the current cohort of students is the first group that will be graduating, and they'll be graduating at the end of June. And this group, which currently numbers 23, I found from the applications that came in, as well as what they shared during the program is that they do have an interest in HR law. They've found that they're doing human resources work in their jobs, but they aren't necessarily people who work in the Office of Human Resources at Pitt or in the Office of Human Resources at UPMC. We do have one or two that fit that category, but very often there are people who, the lingo that is often used in the profession is they're an HR of one. They find themselves on their own, trying to handle day-to-day issues in their departments, and they just want to learn more about what issues they should be aware of, how to handle inquiries that they may get from their employees, how to interact with people above them hierarchically in terms of HR law, other attorneys, or people in the legal department. If that's what you're looking for, I'd like to say that I think that this is the program for you. So it's a 10-month program, as we talk about in the flyer, and as you can see on the website. It's a accelerated program, so unlike most Pitt courses where in order to get 3 credits, for example, in a semester, a course may last 12, 13 weeks. These courses only run 8 weeks. So altogether, since there are 5 courses, we're talking about a 40-week program, 3 credits, each course 15 credits all together. Let me pop up now the curriculum, just to give you an idea of what kind of programs or kind of courses that we teach here. So we start out in late August with an introduction to the legal system for human resources and selected topics in hiring and firing. Again, this is a course that I teach. It runs till mid-October. That's the way that it ran in the current cohort, and that's the way it's going to run for 2020-2021. We then go to wages, hours, and benefits, which starts right away, piggyback to course number 1. We do take a 1-week break for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we go till the end of December, a few days before, or weekend before Christmas. We then take a 2-week break, start up in early January with course 3, entitled Working Conditions. For this coming cohort, we will end at the very end of February. We will then take a 1-week spring break in the first week of March, start up the second week of March in course number 4, entitled Anti-Discrimination Law, and we'll end in early May. And then we start up without a break in that second week in May in a course entitled Selected Topics in Human Resources Law, which we end at the end of June. There's descriptions of all 5 courses on the website. I'm only going to spend a little bit of time talking about the 5th course. Again, this is a course that I co-teach with others. This is the only course where there are electives. Right now, we are offering for 2 weeks, weeks 2 and 3, in course 5, 2 different seminars from which students choose one, and then in weeks 5 and 6, we also offer 2 seminars from which students choose one. So you have an opportunity to select topics that are of most interest to you of the 4 seminars that are offered. In addition, at the beginning of this 5th course, you select a topic that you wish to submit a capstone project. This would be a written paper as well as a videotaped oral presentation on a selected topic. I see one of our students in the current cohort has joined us, Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. And she'll be talking.
Hello.
She'll be talking a little bit later about that. And I'm going to actually put up a few slides shortly to give you an idea of the types of topics that the current students have selected to do papers and presentations on. And that'll give you even better idea of the kind of subjects that we've been covering this year, and that we'll also, I'm sure, be covering next year, not just in course 5, but in the other courses as well. So let me see what other slides I have up here. Oh, since this is all online, we don't all have to be associated with Pitt or UPMC, and so you may be wondering, well, how nationwide is the program? For 2019-2020, which was the first year of the program's existence, we did have some students in neighboring states, Ohio and New York, but so far, and right now, the enrollment for the 2020-2021 cohort is about the same as it is currently. We have about 23 students who have applied and been accepted, submitted all their paperwork. We have a much wider geographic range. We go north, south, east, and west. And if you apply and are admitted, you'll be able to participate and get viewpoints and feedback from people interested in HR from literally all over the country. I'm very excited about the new group, although I'm also very happy with the way things have gone with our current cohort. See what else I have here. Okay, so this will give you some idea of the kind of projects that current student body has selected to do their presentations. That first bullet point gives you an idea how, no matter how well you try to plan these things, you have to expect the unexpected. I think it's safe to say that no one predicted a worldwide pandemic when the professors recorded their asynchronous lectures last fall, even into the winter time. We've had to adapt, and I think we've done a good job of adapting. I guess I'll find out for sure when students evaluate the course at the end, but we've tried to bring in some of the new legislation and regulations that have been passed in the HR field just in the last couple months. But then there's some tried and true issues that students have also chosen for their capstone projects. Americans with Disabilities Act, Family and Medical Leave Act, again, hiring and firing issues, ban the box, the legislation that pertains to the issue of criminal background checks and what type of information can and what can't be asked in a job application. As you can see, some of these projects have been tailored to the new normal, work from home accommodations, hiring and firing remote employees. Here's our next set of slides. Drug use, legal and illegal. Medical marijuana was and continues to be a hot topic in the HR field. And also non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. You just watch the news, and again, putting aside for the moment all our current issues dealing with medical and health issues, some of these issues are continuing issues that persons in the human resources field have to address in their job. Social media issues, of course, OSHA, National Labor Relations Act, issues involving labor unions, which we cover in the Working Conditions Course 3, job descriptions. Here's the last slide. Inequality gender-wise, Title VII issues, as well as racial issues, including but not limited to racial and sexual harassment, which we talk about. Fair Labor Standards Act, That's where we cover that in course 2 on wages, hours, and benefits. And we even get into some international issues, immigration issues as well in the course. So because we're an online course, and we're an online course even before the current situation involving the University of Pittsburgh as well as other universities, we had no interruptions whatsoever in running our course. As long as the internet was running and everybody could access it, our courses 1 through 5 ran as scheduled, and we anticipate that being exactly the same starting at the end of August all the way through to late June, regardless of world events, regardless of presidential elections, all the other things that are going to be happening in the 10 months that we're offering the next program session. I guess what I'm looking for as director, and what I look for when I look at applications are people who have a passion for the field of human resources. And that's what I found to be the case with the 23 students we have now. I'll admit that I borrowed the word passion from something I saw yesterday online, which I'll tell you about briefly before I turn it over to Beth Ann and Alan and our 2 students. I assume there are some of you out there who are fans of The Office, the American version of TV. When in doubt, it's my default TV show if I'm looking for laughs, looking for a diversion from the awful news of the day sometimes. Of course, there's a lot of famous characters in The Office. There's Michael, who ran The Office. There's, of course, Pam and Jim, some of whom went on to have great, film careers after the end of The Office. But then there's this other character, Toby. Poor Toby, right? He's the HR guy. And, he's not treated that well by Michael, if for any of you have watched the show. He's got a pretty laid-back attitude when it comes to HR. And I saw an interview on YouTube yesterday of the actor who played Toby, just to talk about his experience with the program, what it was like to be in that ensemble. And he did talk about how it was laid back, his laid back style, and that he really never did develop a passion for HR. And I think that comes across. But we're not looking for Tobys here. We're looking for people, and that's what we have currently in our current cohort, people who have a passion for this field, who are doing work and want to make it work better, who recognize the challenging role that they're in. They're not quite on the same level maybe as the other employees because they have some supervisory role above them, but they're not running the office either. So how to best balance that role, we try to get into that as well in some of the courses. And so without further ado, since I've already gone 20 minutes and I want to allow time for the people who have also joined me here today, if you look at the website, you'll see that there's a way that you can ask or send inquiries to me, and I try to get back to people within 24 hours if you have any specific inquiries. But there's also a way online that you can file an application. So I'm going to turn it over now to Beth Ann, who's going to talk a little bit about the application process.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Beth Ann Pischke, and I am the program administrator. Our application process is relatively simple. We have a link on our website at law.pitt.edu/HR law. It's an online application. There is no application fee, and our tentative deadline for applying to the program is July 15th. We require the application itself that you write a personal statement as to why you'd like to be considered to the program, and supply your official transcripts of your undergrad and graduate studies work. I sort of monitor the status of applications and work with Jay, and I provide updates to you directly where things stand with your application, if you're missing something, if something didn't come through when you applied, and then after the process is over, regarding admission. I also wanted to briefly just mention that both Pitt and UPMC offer tuition benefit programs, and our HR law program is part of the program that you would be permitted to use your tuition benefits. This benefit applies only to tuition, and all other charges and fees would be the responsibility of you, the employee. We highly recommend, however, that you check directly with your HR department to see and determine your specific eligibility for our program, and what the reimbursement would be. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Beth Ann.
Mhm.
And thank you especially for mentioning the tuition benefit, which again may have attracted some of you to the program just to learn a little bit more about it. And again, this is something where you need to talk to HR just to confirm your eligibility for that. But we will facilitate your credit or your benefit as best we can once you're found eligible. Alan, do you want to jump in now to talk a little bit about the program?
Yes, thank you, Jay. I'm Alan Meisel. I'm the director of the Master of Studies in Law program at Pitt Law. This is a 30-credit degree program in law. It does not allow you to practice law, but it gives you the opportunity to take regular law school classes at Pitt Law and to obtain a degree. What we've done with our certificate programs is allow students who've completed the certificate program and obtained 15 credits in that program to apply those credits towards the Master of Studies in Law degree, so that you would only have to earn an additional 15 credits. There's more information about this on the website, both for the HR law program, and I sent the link to that just a little while ago using chat. And there's also information about it on the MSL website, and I'll send you information about that too. And of course, if you are interested in doing that, it makes sense to contact me, and we can set up an opportunity to talk by phone or by Zoom or however seems best under the circumstances. And we can tailor make the program to your needs. If you want to go into greater depth in HR law, we can do that. If, on the other hand, you'd prefer to study some other area of law, that is also possible. So I'll leave it at that to keep it brief, and look forward to hearing from some of you.
Thank you, Alan. Now I'm going to turn things over to one student and then another current students in the program who both agreed, thankfully, to join us here today. I asked them largely, based on the fact that they sat in on a virtual information session on the MSL program last week. So they are familiar with the format of how this information session was going to be run today. So maybe Stephanie and then Christy, you could introduce yourselves, tell people where you're currently working, a little bit about your current position, and then talk a little bit about the program. Stephanie?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Verholak, and I am a Pitt employee. I work in the Employee Relations Department in Craig Hall normally, but from home right now, along with everyone else in Craig Hall. So we've been working from home for a while. I've been with Pitt, let's see, for a little over 2 years. Prior to Pitt, I was in government service, essentially, but doing human resources for a couple of different locations in state government. So Torrance State Hospital, for example, the Governor's Office of Administration for a few years, places like that. So I guess you would say maybe a mid-career HR person. I have about 15 years in human resources now. So I thought this program was a great benefit to me as somebody sort of mid-career to sort of get a I guess, more of a robust picture of the law behind human resources, which, you know, so as a practitioner of human resources, I was really familiar with a lot of the concepts and things, obviously, that are talked about in the program, but that there was I thought that the foundational legal information behind those concepts and the things that I deal with day to day were really filled out by participating in this program. I found it personally fairly easy to incorporate it into my daily life. As a full-time employee, I am also a single mom, and so I have a lot of things that I'm juggling. I'm the kind of person who typically spreads themselves pretty thin. So I am really active with a Girl Scouts troop with my daughter and all that stuff. So being able to participate in an online course like this, when I could, after I put my daughter to bed, you know, get on and view the lectures and participate in the discussions, or on my lunch hour during the workday, it really made it so much more possible for me to feel like I could participate in additional education, additional higher learning as a full-time working single mom. So I was really grateful for that. I found that the discussions were really valuable. It's Jay mentioned earlier, you're getting perspectives from a lot of different people, a lot of different companies. And, you know, in HR, we tend to think that we've seen it all, but you haven't. And it's kind of comforting maybe in a way to see that other people have had, you know, similar career experiences or different ones that you can learn from. So having that ability to now say very soon that I will have this certificate is something that I can add to my resume will, I think, you know, look pretty good for me in terms of professional development and in terms of personal growth.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you very much. And if you could stick around just to see if anybody asks questions that we might direct to you, that would be great. If you have to drop off, that's fine. Christy?
Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday with a nice sunshine finally outside, which is wonderful. I'm going to apologize in advance that I have a dog and he's kind of crazy. So that's why I was just getting him now because the mailman's coming. I work in the Title IX office and I am an investigator. I investigate a lot of the sexual assault and sexual harassment claims that come through. So when I looked at this program, what interested me was that I've always wanted to go back to school. I just didn't know how I would fit it in kind of into my lifestyle. Like Stephanie was saying, like, I'm a single mom. My daughter plays multiple sports. I coach her travel softball team. So trying to organize what I do at Pitt, which is high volume, a lot of work, not a lot of downtime, as well as being able to, I think, keep with my personal life and the things I have to do. This fit really well into my schedule. I look at, as well as, I was always a good student, not excellent student. So I think the fear also of going back to school, I knew I wanted to go back. I wanted to finish my master's. And when this opened back up, I feel as though, like, because of my background, a lot of the coursework that was taught, I felt comfortable with. So I think easing back into the educational system and taking classes and studying and doing quizzes and writing reports, this program, I think, really helped with that. Like Jay was saying, I actually am considering going into the master's program after this. And I think, again, like, this was the first step. I was like, let me see if I can get through this with everything that I have in my life and on my plate. And if so, then I'll take those next steps. And I think, again, I think the coursework, like Stephanie was saying, I think, yes, you do have time to do it, but there are deadlines. So that's the other thing I think that might be important. When I first logged on, I was like, okay, so I have a whole week kind of to get everything in, but you do have some deadlines. So there are things that have to be done by certain deadlines. So I know every Wednesday, every Sunday, we had to submit different types of work. So if you're the type of person, I guess for me, like, that worked well for me because I got half my stuff done and then my other half. But recognizing that even though it is an online course, and you do have the flexibility that there are still deadlines as you go through. I'm trying to think what else. Like I said, I think the big thing for me was I have been out of school for a good while. Getting back into it, it fit definitely into my work, and the stuff that I learned during the course, I'm able to implement. I was able to almost implement immediately. Some of the coursework I think was a little bit easier, especially when we talked about discrimination and harassment, because that's what I tend to do. But when we were looking at, I think, unions and arbitration, those type of things I don't tend to work with as often. So that was kind of, I think, informative to me. Stephanie and I work together on a lot of projects. So I think, like, even connecting, I think, through the certificate program with other people who I've had connections with across campus in my Title IX role, I think that going through the certificate, I think I built better relationships for that collaboration as well within the university. So I really like the program. I think that all the courses that were taught, I think that they were taught at a higher level. I think the work that we were expected to do was very manageable. I think this last course, Jay, is a little bit more difficult than the others, only because we're doing 2 courses, 2 elective courses. You're still doing the quizzes. You're still doing the, you're still watching the videos of the sessions, as well as on top of that, now we're doing a paper. So that's a little bit interesting with the dynamics going on and us finally being able to start softball. But again, I know if I'm going to take that next step, this is kind of getting me prepared for that process.
Oh, thank you, Christy. Great comments. And to thank both of you, Stephanie and Christy, for, it's the first year of a program. There's going to be, hiccups along the way, speed bumps that you hit. And, we hit those a couple of times in some of the courses. We also switched over from Blackboard to Canvas. I want to personally apologize to you in front of all these witnesses about that change, which was way above my pay grade, that decision. But, we're getting through it all. Again, it's a good point you made, Christy, about deadlines. And that is one thing to keep in mind, that even though it's asynchronous, and, you could watch the course and watch lectures at any time, there are still assignments that need to be done by certain deadlines. So you may be able to accelerate things if you want to, or delay it. You don't necessarily have to watch something Monday morning, but there are still weekly deadlines that have to be met. Christy, it looks like we had a daughter that made a brief appearance, and it sounded like we had your dog enter their appearance too.
Yes, my daughter's in 9th grade, and now that finally things started opening back up, the friend's over, so I have to, around, put them in my car and Uber driver them to wherever they want to go next.
Got it. Okay, so we have 10 minutes. Of course, we can go long if we need to. For any questions that people might have, I see there's some things in the chat room. Let me just take a peek here. It's like Alan posted a link to the MSL program. If anybody wants to unmute themselves to ask a question live, please feel free to do so. Nobody. Well, I like to think it's because we did such a thorough job, but the other thing is there are FAQs listed, frequently asked questions. Maybe we addressed all those, but if you have any additional questions, you can email me directly at my website, my email address, my Pitt email address, or you can send an inquiry through the website. Let's see here. What made you decide this program? Well, that's a great question. And you know what, Alan, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, Pitt Law is trying to get increasingly into online education, postgraduate education for non-lawyers. We have a healthcare compliance certificate program that's been in effect for 5 years. And we saw the tremendous need in the HR area because we know there's so many people scattered across the campus, not to mention across the country, who have jobs that are either in HR or they have an HR function. We know there's lots of departmental administrators in various places in Pitt and UPMC, and we know there's probably people like that throughout both corporate America and higher education and the healthcare industry who have a piece of their job that they need to know something about the law for HR. And that's what prompted us really to put this program together. Plus, we have the expertise, which is to say we have Jay Hornak on our faculty.
And we have a really great set of instructors for courses 2, 3, 4, and 5. Their bios you will find on the website. I hope Christy and Stephanie will back me up on this, but you know, we have a vast array of talent that teach the courses. Some who come from a background of representing employees, some who come from a background of representing employers for private law firms. We have actually two seminar instructors who are in-house counsel. So they work directly with HR in their jobs. One's in the private sector, one works for the University of Pittsburgh's legal department. And then we are lucky enough to have one full-time faculty member who teaches and has taught for decades employment law at the University of Pittsburgh, Pat Chu. Somebody who I've known for a long time. I was so pleased that she agreed to be one of our seminar instructors as well. So,
Jay, there's two more questions here.
Okay.
One person asks, is there a book list available?
Well, right now we have a book. We have a book that we chose from a list that was on the website for SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, the #1 HR organization out there, support organization and advocacy organization. I can certainly post that information about the textbook after the course is over, I'm not going to be able to get to it, I don't think, before we shut off. But the instructors have the option of choosing from that textbook as well as outside readings, and so there's really only one required book, and the textbook is, like textbooks are, it's a few $100s to buy. That's the only extra expense that has been associated with the course, and that's something that's not going to be covered by the tuition benefit. But I'll see if I can get that information to you, or maybe you can send me an inquiry and I can send you a link to that.
Well, Jay, we can put it on the website, and we have a list of email addresses of everybody who's participated, so we can just mail out that information.
Okay.
There's two other related questions here. One person asks, how many assignments should we expect to complete per week? Well, let me just give you that, and then there's two more that have come up.
Yeah, there's also how many hours per week should one expect to dedicate to this program, and what types of assignments are there every week?
They're all sort of related questions.
Yeah, you know what? Stephanie and Christy are still here. Maybe they could talk a little bit about, answer those questions however they want, and then I'll jump in afterwards.
Sure, this is Stephanie. I think it depended a little bit on each individual course and the assignment that week, but I felt that it was generally pretty manageable. So, for example, the lectures themselves, to actually sit and view the lecture was, I think, in every case under an hour for the actual lecture themselves. Oftentimes, a half an hour or something like that, I think, on average, for the lecture themselves. So we listen to the lecture, and there would generally be some chapter assignment associated with that lecture from that one textbook, and then maybe point us to some articles or some information from some of the major websites, like the EEOC website, for example, is the one that's coming to my mind, where we would be pointed to some, things to read to sort of fill out the lecture in that chapter. So we say maybe a half an hour on average for the lecture, maybe in a couple of hours a week for reading. I think in the time it usually would take me to draft a response to the discussion would generally be maybe an hour or less to, type out a discussion, sometimes maybe about a half an hour, just to sort of thoughtfully put together my thoughts on a post. And so some classes would maybe have more of, a one-page paper or something that might have been due, or a quiz that might have been due that week. So, I mean, you're participating, you're logging in, at least 3 times a week, probably, referring back to the materials. So if it's a few hours that you can squeeze in, and it's pretty manageable. Maybe an hour a day, I think, is maybe a fair estimate.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. Christy?
I would agree with what Stephanie said. As I said, I was a good student, but I was not the best test taker. So for me, the quizzes were a little bit more, I think, stressful, and I probably put in extra time. But I think what Stephanie was saying, I think that, you had discussion questions. I think, completing those usually took about an hour, a little over an hour, and then you would respond. And I think logging in like 3 to 4 times to be able, because as the discussion is going on, there's new posts, and, you can respond, and there's some really great information in those discussion posts. The lectures, I think, were very easy to understand. The readings directly related back to that. There were some times when you had some courses that there wasn't as much reading as other ones. But I would say, like I said, I'm not the best test taker, so I know for me, like, I would re-listen to the videos prior to taking the quiz. But even with that, I would say the max that I probably spent a week might have been 6 hours, and that would have been, like I said, like more so for me for the quiz part of it, just because how I know I am with test taking and what I need to do to be able to prepare myself. But the written part of it, I think, it was fairly easy. I think if you have any questions, the other thing that I think is really good is that if you have any questions, they're very responsive to your email. So if you're not quite understanding something or you need some clarification, I think everybody who taught a course was very open, and that communication was very easy to be able to get back that way. And like I was saying earlier, you have your assignments are usually due by like Wednesday at midnight and Sunday at midnight. So I think that allows you to kind of prepare on what your week's going to look like. And then, starting on Monday, what the expectations are for that week. So you can kind of gauge what you need to do. In the book that Jay's talking about, the book is kind of expensive, but I think it's something that I would use for a resource continuing to go through my career, as well as that book is a one and done book. So you use it throughout the whole course. So it's not as if you have to purchase that book for certain courses. That book is used throughout the whole program.
Thank you again, Stephanie and Christy. The only thing I would add to what they've said on assignments and hours is that when I designed my course, I tried to have a variety of assignments and also have a variety of different discussion questions. I was probably most pleasantly surprised in terms of online education, which sort of new in my experience. I've taught for decades as an adjunct professor in classrooms. This is the first time I really got involved in online education. I was pleasantly surprised how well the discussion board works in the discussion, because it gets everyone involved. I mean, it gets everyone involved because it's a mandatory grade component, but in a classroom, you may have a few people who aren't shy about expressing their opinions, who participate and calling on other people, like pulling teeth sometimes, or they're just shy about participating. Everybody participates in discussions, and again, the contribution by everybody has just been fantastic this year. There are no time deadlines with respect to the quizzes that are talked about. In other words, you could sit down and take the exam, and it's not as if you have 1 hour or there's one time when everybody is taking a quiz at the same time. But there are, again, deadlines in terms of the date, and by midnight perhaps, of when on a date when a quiz needs to be turned in or completed, as well as other assignments. So there is flexibility to some extent, and you're not under the same time pressures in taking a quiz that you would have in a typical classroom setting. Anybody else? I don't see any other questions in the chat room. Does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask just through unmuting here? Okay, well, seeing and hearing none, we will, end the meeting. And again, I thank you for your time and your attention. There are ways that you can follow up if you have any additional questions now, or if you think of some down the road. Deadline for applications. Since we started at the end of August, we're setting a July 31 deadline. So you've got most of June and all of July to submit your application, and Beth Ann and I will help you in the process if there's anything that we think is missing from your application. So enjoy the rest of your day. As Christy said, stay cool if you're in Pittsburgh, and hope to see you at the end of August.
Jay, before you end the meeting, there was one more question.
Oh, how many seats left?
Yeah, how many seats do you have left in the program?
Okay, so at the present time, we have approximately 23 applicants approved. So it's the same size as last year. We're accepting up to 30, perhaps as high as 35. So we do have at least 7 to 12 slots left. We want to keep it on a smaller size, just so that the discussion goes better. In fact, Stephanie and Christy, we may actually divide the discussion groups into smaller groups to facilitate participation. If we, that's one thing that we might tweak about program in year 2 versus year 1. So short answer is there are slots available, but they're going fast.
And one other thing I would just want to mention, Jay, you mentioned that the application deadline was July 31st. Beth Ann said July 15th.
Okay.
I think I'm going to leave this in Beth Ann's court because she's the one who has to actually process the applications.
Okay.
How about if we said towards the end of July? Would that be an acceptable compromise?
Sounds
okay.
Good. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Obviously, if we only get a few applications at the very end, we can process them. But if they start coming in large numbers, it makes it more difficult for us. So we suggest if you're interested in the program, apply as soon as possible. It's a very simple application process. The most difficult part probably is just getting your transcripts from your institutions.
Right.
Right. So difficult, it just takes a little time.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Beth Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day.